The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, 7 popular timeline theories plus my own. Before we get to my own timeline theory, we will first look at the current popular timeline theories to The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. I will not go in depth of these theories or try to debunk them, there are enough videos on that. I just want to give an overview and present my own theory. So, number 1, the world of Breath of the Wild is set after Wind Waker's flood. So, why do people believe this theory? In the demo, Link picks up an item called rock salt which has the description, crystallized salt from the ancient sea commonly used to season meals. The ancient sea? A lot of people see this as that the entirety of this land was once covered in a huge body of water. And what game do we know featured a flooded Hyrule? The Wind Waker, of course. A second hint. The appearance of Koroks. Tree-like creatures that have leaves for faces. They have only popped up in the Wind Waker until now. We know that Koroks used to be the Kokiri in the Ocarina of Time before they transformed because of the flood. And of course, the old man, or maybe, King Daphne. At the very beginning of Breath of the Wild the player is greeted by an old man. While this is undoubtedly a nod to the original Legend of Zelda, in which Link is gifted a sword after warning the player, it's dangerous to go alone. Indeed, keen fans have noticed a striking similarity between the old man and King Daphne's Noanson, or, as most remember him, the King of Red Lions. Number 2, the return to Skyloft. So, why do people believe this theory? Remember the huge angel statue that watched over the floating island of Skyloft? In the demo a smaller version of it, surrounded by even smaller statues, can be found in the Temple of Time. Secondly, at several points throughout the demo, it's possible to see an island floating in the sky. Not a cloud, but a massive flat rock which looks extremely similar to Skyloft. There's no way it's there, and unreachable. Number 3. The hero is defeated, timeline. This theory is my favorite. After mine of course. And is in my opinion the only logical other good theory. Anyway, so, why do people believe this theory? Zelda fans are no stranger to the idea of multiple timelines that occur after the events of The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and with the start of Breath of the Wild showing you that Link is waking up, or possibly even being resurrected after 100-year slumber in the Shrine of Resurrection. So, it looks like Link has died. And there's one timeline that follows that train of thought, the hero is defeated timeline. In this timeline Ganon, who is eventually sealed away into the sacred realm. But he is currently floating around, locked within the grounds of Hyrule Castle, as Calamity Ganon. If the game does indeed follow, the hero is defeated timeline, it looks like the upcoming title will show us exactly what has happened since Link's defeat in Ocarina of Time, and it looks like it could be the same Hyrule, several decades later, as the Temple of Time looks pretty similar too. If not the slain hero from Ocarina of Time, it could be another Link from later on, in the same timeline. The Hyrule Historia states that the Link, from A Link to the Past, continued his journey into the Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons games, and then in Link's Awakening, which at the end, leaves Link floating in the ocean, with his fate unknown. Plus, there are a bunch of other things that hint towards this timeline, like the Sheikah they pretty much only show up constantly in this timeline. Or other little if not the slain hero from Ocarina of Time, it could be another Link from later on, in the same timeline. The Hyrule Historia states that the Link from A Link to the Past, number 4, Zelda, is guiding Link from the past. At the start of the game, Link rouses to the sound of, presumably Zelda's voice, telling him to wake up. Zelda then guides Link on where to go, making it pretty clear she's going to play an important navigational role. But I must confess, I do miss Navi, in a way. One theory that's doing the rounds is that Zelda is actually calling to Link from the past. At the start of the game, things aren't looking too good for Hyrule. The castle, for example, is totally consumed by Calamity Ganon, and the world, though beautiful, has fallen into disrepair. It's possible the reason Link was in stasis is that the situation against Ganon 100 years ago was totally unwinnable, and the intention of sealing Link away was so that he could later reverse these events and stop them from ever happening. Time travel is a fairly huge staple of the series, and the Sheikah technology looks awfully similar to the time shift stones from Skyward Sword, so it would make sense. Number 5. The old man is Ganondorf. Why would this theory make sense? The old man, helping you out in Breath of the Wild, seems a little too virtuous for his own good. He's teaching you all of these things about the land, giving you items, and helping you get from place to place. Doesn't it all seem a bit convenient? What does he want in return? The spirit orbs. Some theorists reckon this old man has a bit of an agenda to himself, and that he could actually be Ganon in disguise. Or maybe helping you out, so that he can eventually get out of Hyrule Castle. Some fans have pointed out that his skin and nose looks a lot like the humanoid Ganondorf's, and many Zelda games have used the friendly guide as actually someone important in disguise tactic. Number 6, the original Zelda concept. Video game pioneer Miyamoto has been quoted as stating that The Legend of Zelda, on the Nintendo Entertainment System, originally had a much different concept. Miyamoto claims that the Nintendo Entertainment System title was supposed to feature Link traveling between the past and present, collecting high-tech circuitry as opposed to the Triforce. That's why Link is called, of course, Link. He was a link between two eras. Number 7, Breath of the Wild takes place after every other timeline. Number 7, I bet the gentlemen at Nintendo sometimes regret creating the Zelda timeline. But what would fix that problem? All the timelines collapse together in some form of reality, where the parallel worlds have collapsed and converged into one. It would explain several elements from previous games, and would make sense as a celebration of the entire history of Zelda before the franchise moves permanently into a new era. On top of that, it would also unify the timeline again, making things much easier for Nintendo going forward. Oh yes, 2 more. Some believe that Breath of the Wild is a sequel to Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess. But I won't go into these, because the evidence. Some believe that Breath of the Wild is a sequel to Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess. But I won't go into these, because the evidence that these theories are true are slim. Of course it may be so, but from the current information there is, I don't believe they are. I have to mention though, that Nintendo, I think it was Onuma. So, now, without further ado, my theory. The Sheikah Timeline. Tell me, What if there was a complete other timeline that has not been revealed yet? One where the Sheikah and their technology play an even bigger part and role. Obviously, like in Breath of the Wild. My timeline theory would play in the hero is defeated timeline in a complete new split. I'll just call it the Sheikah Timeline. So, why would I come up with something like this? Because of an interview. So, why would I come up with something like this? Because of an interview. Zelda producer Onuma was asked where the game fits into the timeline. Onuma said he didn't want to say much about the story at the moment, but said he'd stare a hint. He noted that the t-shirt he was wearing showed the symbol for the Sheikah stones, and that it was the same one from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. In Breath of the Wild, the reawakened Link uses a high-tech item called the Sheikah Slate. Onuma also reminded people that, at the start of this game, Link is told he's been asleep for 100 years. So, my theory goes something like this. During the Downfall timeline, Link, the hero of time, despite his best efforts, is defeated by Ganondorf in the final battle. The defeated Link, although defeated, still has life in him and is brought into the Resurrection Chamber by maybe even Zelda herself. Ganondorf obtained the remaining Triforce pieces from Link and Zelda, and was subsequently sealed within the corrupted Sacred Realm by the Seven Sages. Obtaining the true power of the complete Triforce, he is transformed into the Demon King Ganon. In a desperate last resort, the Seven Sages seal Ganon along with the complete Triforce away in the Sacred Realm, which was already transformed into the Dark World. Ganondorf obtained the remaining Triforce pieces from Link and Zelda, and was subsequently sealed within the corrupted Sacred Realm by the Seven Sages. Obtaining the true power of the complete Triforce, he is transformed into the Demon King Ganon. In a desperate last resort, the Seven Sages seal Ganon along with the complete Triforce away in the Sacred Realm, which was already transformed into the Dark World, as a reflection of Ganondorf's evil heart. Hyrule enjoys a brief period of peace, but as rumors spread of the golden power lying all games, or better the heroes, that normally follow in this timeline, were never born or don't exist, because the original all games, or better the heroes, that normally follow in this timeline, were never born or don't exist, because the original Ocarina of Time Link, was still alive and regenerating. So anyway, the Hylians turn to the Sheikah, that are technological and magical far more advanced, and ask them for help. Or maybe the remaining few Sheikah even offer their help, because they see the danger. As a result, the Guardians were built, and, together, in this time, Ganon finds out about the Twilight Realm and the advanced, Sheikah-related technology, and offers them to share the power over Hyrule, if the Twilight help him. The deal goes down and the Twilight help Ganon and, let's say, reprogram the Guardians to attack the Sheikahs and Hylians. A huge number die and Ganon, of course, betrays the Twilight and tries to kill the ones who helped him. Sound familiar? Ganon has done that before. Of course some Twilight escape, and form an alliance with the Sheikah and Hylians. They lure Ganon into Hyrule Castle and seal him inside. To keep him sealed, they need some powerful energy or magic, since Ganon has all Triforce pieces. The only thing that has so much power to keep evil at bay is the Master Sword. So they try to extract the power of the sword to seal Ganon. The game, Breath of the Wild, begins, or better, the timeline continues, at the original The Legend of Zelda. What would make sense, since Nintendo wanted to go back to the roots, and even mentioned that the artwork, design idea and general concept was taken from the original game, but at the same time, They wanted to do something completely new. So, that was my theory. I hope you thought it interesting and entertaining. I didn't go in all the details of my theory, but maybe there will be more? Please let me know what you think in the comment section below and hit that subscribe button if you want to get more. Thanks and cheers.